Open houses, a little bit. I don't know if any of you guys have done this training before. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have been there. So this is my backstory. Very quick thing. Joined EXP 2022. I missed Icon. I missed Icon by half a transaction. Okay, folks. So yeah, a little peeved about it, but nonetheless, yes, I've been in real estate for 9 years. And open houses is essentially how I got my business to where it is. And last year I kind of laxed, right? Being humble. I kind of laxed. I didn't do an open house, probably for a good, 4 to 5 months, possibly. And my excuse has always been, oh, it's not my listing. Nobody wants to give me an open house, whatever. Right. So I think November was the last transaction that I had for the year. And, I went back to Arizona, and my husband was like, you need to go do open houses. You need to go do open houses, and bugged me. I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, you need to go do open houses. And so literally after Christmas, I think it was like couple of days before New Year's Eve, he came and sat in my office, and he's like, you need to go call people right now to go do open houses. Because I had been relaxing. I've been just been kind of relaxing and chilling and stuff like that. He's like, babe, you need to go out and do the business. And he's like, you know what? I'll go do it with you. So him being sitting in my office, and he's like, go call. And I did. And, I got an open house for New Year's Eve. And I had to go back to basics. Last year was a tough year, and this year is not getting any easier. So I had to go back to basics. I had to go back to what I knew, right? And what I knew and what I was really good at was open houses. And thanks to my husband's, and who is actually on this persistent bugging, we went and set an open house. I called somebody in the area. I called an agent, and I said, hey, I see that your house is vacant. How would you like to hold an open house, or how would you like us to hold an open house? And they said, yeah, sure, great. And I'm like, yeah, well, we'll hold it on New Year's Eve. Mind you, folks, New Year's Eve. And they're like, really? New Year's Eve? I'm like, yeah, we'll hold it New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because that was the weekend. And we did. And so what that actually did. So this little chart right here is going back to basics. Tough times, right? Tough times. If you survived last year, and you can survive this year, when when a storm starts coming, your barrels are going to be getting full, right? So this is the time to create that foundation. This is the time to get all your basics done and get really going back to the basics. So the open house on New Year's Eve led us to a listing appointment for Hopi Trail. And again, mind you guys, this would have been the first listing appointment that I would have been on, I don't know, in over 6 months, where somebody just didn't call me and be like, all right, just send me the contract, right? I didn't get that listing. I was a little rusty. I didn't get that listing, but and then we also did an open house on New Year's Day. And on New Year's Day, we got the listing appointment for Cottonwood, which we actually did sign. And that open house also led us to a closing, a buyer that we're actually closing today, right, Tony?
Indeed. In fact, I think you already funded.
Yes. Yay. So they pre-funded yesterday, and we're going to be closing today. And that listing on Cottonwood led us to another listing that is going to be that we're going to be listing here in the next couple of weeks in Yucaipa, California. And that open house in Cottonwood led us to a buyer that is currently in escrow, and we should be closing in 2 weeks. So that 2 open house on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day led us to 4 pieces of business. So it's essentially, like I said, it's going back to basics, right? It's going back to what I knew. And had it not been for my husband and be like, we're going to go do the open house, I'm going to go do it with you, and we're going to do this together. We wouldn't have the business that we have. So, how did we do it? How did I get the open houses, right? Or how did I? Well, yeah, how did I get the open house? I just called. I called. I called probably 4 or 5 before one said yes. And many would disagree with me, but I called out of my brokerage because I called. The way I do my searches is I go after the vacant homes first, because that way I'm not interfering with any, owners or sellers' lives or anything like that. So I go after the vacant listings, and if there's any vacant listings, I start calling. And I'm like, hey, can I do the open house? Hey, can I do the open house? Hey, can I do the open house? And, somebody said yes. And that's basically how it started. And now I am doing open houses almost every weekend. And thankfully now I'm doing it on my own listings. So we have one in Cottonwood, we have two in California, that were listings that we have open houses going on, and of course one coming up, another one in California that we're also going to be doing open houses on. So before I go into it, any questions? Anything I can answer?
Oh, go ahead, Dee.
Yes, Mary, thank you for this. Are you doing exclusively EXP listings,
No.
or?
No, I am not. So I had a listing in Oxnard, in Devonshire, and I put the listing on the market on Friday night. I did the open house Saturday, Sunday, and by Monday morning, I had 12 text messages from realtors from all different brokerages asking me if they could hold the open house the weekend. So believe it or not, folks, and if there are brokers in there, I am a broker myself, but believe it or not, there's nothing in the National Association of Realtors that says that you cannot hold other brokerage open houses.
Do you need special permission from the broker, or you can just go ahead and
make an agent?
I think Dee Dee's question is if that might be if that's okay with our California EXP broker.
Every single broker is going to tell you no. And I asked for forgiveness, not for permission. So that may be just me.
So crazy question. Why do they say no, or why would they say no?
They go back to liability.
Thank you for that, Martin. I didn't know that.
I have a comment for those that just hopped on and didn't hear Mary say this, is doing an open house on holidays. That's bold and that's awesome, because I feel like most people would be like, I'm not going to do an open house on a holiday because people think I'm weird, or they're going to think I'm, I have commission breath. And I do think that's genius. Everybody thinks that, they're worried about what other people are going to say or how other people do it. And I love how you're bold like that.
It's believe it or not, it's also a conversation starter too. They're like, oh, you're here on New Year's Eve. I'm like, of course, you got to start your New Year strong, right? So it's a conversation breaker, guys. It's a conversation starter, and it gets people, talking to you, right? So yeah, I would just say call and ask. So before the open house, and by the way, I like to hide in the shadow sometimes. So when I'm in Arizona, because of the area that I'm in, I'm actually in a different MLS. And so I just use my husband's information. They come in and they're like, you're not Raymond. I'm like, I know, I'm a cuter version. And it works. So, but yeah, the open house that we did on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day was on Night Watch Way in Prescott Valley. And, it was vacant. It's been on the market for like 30 days at the time that we did it. And I said, yo, you guys want to do open house? And she's like, yes, of course. And, we definitely got that listing a lot more attention than it's had. I think over the 2 open houses that we did, we probably had like 20 groups come in, 15 to 20 groups come in. And ladies and gents, this is on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Okay, so we did that. And then so how I do open houses, and then before open houses, 2 to 3 days before, get your flyers ready. If you guys don't have a lender partnership, if you are in California, Arizona, Texas, Oregon, Washington, am I missing a state, Tony?
No.
Okay, so if you're in any one of those 5 states, get in contact with Tony. He's got list reports. He can get you a really fancy flyer looking and very professional. And believe it or not, all of my clients love the flyers. Do the flyers. If you don't have a lender partner and you're not in one of those 5 states and Tony can't help you, MLS has it. You can go onto your MLS and just create a detailed flyer, and that also works too. Go door knocking, drop off papers, invite the neighbors, right? Go door knock 25 doors one way and go door knock at 25 doors another way. Get your neighbors out, get the neighbors out there. Believe me, neighbors have the juiciest information, and they'll tell you everything about the neighborhood. So that's how I can do open houses in neighborhoods I know nothing about. Like, whatever, right? Because they'll come in and they'll tell you everything. And by the time I'm done with the open house, I know the entire neighborhood gossip. Telling you, it's very juicy. The morning of, posted on all the Facebook groups. Really, I am now part of, I think, 400 or 450 groups or 500 groups. I don't know. I forgot. Posted on all the local ones. So when I did it for Night Watch, I posted all over Prescott Valley, Prescott, Cottonwood, Dewey, everywhere, right? And 2 hours before, and my husband Raymond has experienced this, and Tony on very rare occasions have experienced this. I put out anywhere between 40, at least 35 to 40 signs on every open house. Okay, we are out about an hour. Because Raymond was helping me, I was able to get it done in about an hour. And that was basically what drew the traffic, right? Because I put signs on major streets and basically kind of creating a chokehold area to where everybody was going through kind of like a tunnel, and trying to drive all the traffic through. So anywhere between 35, 40, I have used up to 60 signs on some, depending on how far they're away. But yeah, get out the signs. And I'll tell you a story about the signs. Actually, I will tell you a story about the signs. So these are all the signs, right? So, and this actually just happened recently. This was a seller on Cottonwood. He was doing an open house. He was doing a garage sale. And, my husband and I, we've been doing open houses in that neighborhood probably for about 6 weeks on and off. And he was doing an open house last weekend on Saturday. And this guy that drives around the neighborhood with his tractor. I don't know what, but every weekend, every time we've done it, he comes out with a tractor. He's driving around the neighborhood. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess he really likes driving his tractor. But he decided to stop by at the garage sale and stop by and told the seller, right? He made it a point to stop at the garage sale and told the seller, I have to tell you, I've been out here every weekend and you guys have the hardest working realtors ever. They're like, we can go on, on the highway, and they have their signs out 2 miles before the turn. Like, neighbors notice, and neighbors see it. And, even though they don't come in, even though they may not have stopped in, they see everything that you're doing. So when they start thinking about, oh, I'm thinking about selling a house, or I want to buy a house, they're going to come. They're going to call me. They're going to call my husband. And in fact, I think my husband even got stopped. Like this little lady literally chased him down, right? Followed his signs and stopped him. And he's like, I want to hire you, right? I need to sell my mobile home, and I want to hire somebody that is excited about selling my home. And we had people, our signs have people coming in telling our clients, we're not even there, telling our clients, oh my gosh, you guys have the hardest working realtors. We have people, you know, literally tracking us down to tell us, we want you to come and sell our house because you guys are working so hard and excited about selling my home. So signs do work. And, you know, I have a, you know, my sign strategy. I do have a sign strategy. I do put, you know, like I said, anywhere between 35 to 40 to 50. I think between my husband and I, we now have 150 signs in our inventory. So it works. And guess what? This is marketing. This is free marketing for you guys. Okay. Everybody sees it. And if you're doing it week in and week out, I mean, I've had people try to copy my the way my sign was. And what's really funny was because I had somebody come in because they were doing open house on one end of the town, and I was doing open house on the other end. And I actually had people come in and like, oh my gosh, Mary, are you like doing open house throughout the entire city? I'm like, huh? And they're like, yeah, your sign's on the other side too. So it works. And it, you know, I've also had realtors that, you know, I got into transactions with telling me, because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm good, you know, and I didn't. I'm like, you know, I didn't tell them. I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm still starting. I'm getting used to it. You know, I'm kind of new, still new. And they're like, are you kidding me, Mary? I see your signs everywhere. So it works. And if you can invest in anything that can market it, that can return on marketing, get yourself some serious signs.
Yeah, can I add to that? You know, a lot of realtors, they go and try to spend money on leads and those kinds of things. Do not spend money on leads unless you've already bought a bunch of signs. And Tom Ferry also says use 30 plus signs. The other thing I like that you said earlier, Mary, was you reached out to a listing that had been on the market 30 days. A lot of agents will go, oh, it's been on the market 30 days. They probably have already had open houses, or it's not going to be worth it. And from that open house, you have those new transactions. I love that.
Can I ask a question real quick
Sure.
about the open house signs? I see people go like, should I put my face on it or not? What is your experience? What do people feel here? Like, should a face be on there or not?
I guess I'm just narcissistic and I like my face on there. So I put my face on there. Some don't, some do, some don't. The whole thing about open house signs and the way I do mine is my signs pop. They're red, right? They're red, they pop. You can see it down the road. And, you know, and I mean, my theme has been red and black anyways for the last 9 years. So it works for me and you can see it. And, you know, like it, and especially when you have, you know, one that it's like, when you have 5 of them and they're, you know, 200 feet apart from each other, you just see it consistently, right? So for me, I do it to where I use colors that pop, that people can see, that when they're driving 65 miles down the highway, they can still see open house, right? Everything else doesn't matter.
Perfect.
So you're doing an open house. You've got the signs out there. You've gone and door knock. You've got all this stuff out there. Now what? Right? Because you can do the open houses, and trust me, I've heard a lot of people say, I've done all these open houses and it doesn't work. I don't have any. I didn't get any lease. I didn't get any business, and all I can say is you didn't do it right. Sorry. I don't try to make it complicated. My open houses are not complicated. They're very, 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 very simple. Okay. I have the things I have with me. I have my phone, I have my laptop, I have my flyers. That's it. It really is. And honestly, I'm not there to sell the house. If I sell the house, great. Wonderful. Right? I love it. but I'm not there to sell the house. I'm there to get leads. I'm doing open houses as a lead generation method, not as me trying to get the house sold. Okay. And my goal is to always get at least one lead that I can follow up on. Right. And, I honestly, I don't have sign-ins. I don't do sign-ins anymore. I haven't done sign-ins for, I don't know, 6 years or so. Because for me, and again, this could be different for you, but for me, when I do sign-ins, people put crap emails. They put, stupid emails and they're not valid and the phone numbers are not valid and it's just wasting my time. So what I do is I actually get people to write their names, phone numbers, email addresses. And, when we actually have a conversation, I'm like, oh, I can send you more information, or let me get my lender to call you back, or let's talk more. Let's sit down. When can I call you back? Right. So that example of New Year's Day, the open house, the sellers on Cottonwood, they came in and they said, we're looking for a single story. And I'm like, okay, tell me more, right? What's going on? So the things I asked, who are we out shopping for? Are we out shopping for ourselves, someone else, things like that, right? And so when they came in, they're like, we're looking for ourselves. I'm like, okay, what do you currently have? And they're like, well, we have a 2-story and, he just got a knee surgery 3 weeks ago and fell down the stairs. And now we need a single story. I'm like, oh, fantastic. The open house I was holding was a 2-story open house. I mean, was a 2-story, house. So guess what I did? I went on my handy dandy laptop. I'm like, oh, you're looking for single story. Oh, you're looking for 1,800 square foot. Oh, great. Oh, by the way, there's 34 homes available for you to go see. Do you want to go see the homes? Right? So I used my laptop and got the information as I was, as they're talking to me. And they're like, oh, that's great. And then I went and asked, so do you currently own or do you rent? They're like, oh, we own. I'm like, oh, do you need to sell first before you buy? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. When can I come and see your house? Right? That got me the listing appointment. And they're like, as soon as you can. I'm like, fantastic. I'll be there tomorrow. So that's pretty much, it's not, I keep my scripts very simple, right? It's who are you guys out shopping for? How long have you guys been looking? Right? Where are you guys coming from? Do you currently own or rent? And of course, what kind of home are you guys looking for and where are you looking? So these are, I mean, my husband has been doing open houses with me now for the past 2 months, 3 months. And he hears me ask the same question over and over and over and over again. And by the way, guys, doing the open house, I don't follow them, right? Most of the time I am by myself. I'm 5 foot nothing. And so I'm not going to follow people around the house. I'm going to give them a flyer. And this is also another reason why I tend to go for vacant homes, because I don't follow the people around the house. Right. I stay, again, for my safety and stuff, I just stay where my station is and said, hey, take a look. If you guys ever have any questions, fire them away. Right. And that does one of two things. One, they don't feel like there's somebody watching them at all times and gives them the freedom to go look around, go talk, go chat and all this other stuff. So they're, they don't feel like, oh my God, they're watching me. Right. And secondly, for safety reasons, it's just better not to follow them around the house. And then, when they're done looking around, I start asking the questions. I start having conversations with them. I start, relating with them, right? And it could be anything, like the sellers on Cottonwood. He's a professor, teaches criminal justice. I'm like, wow, okay, I was a criminal justice major. And, we start talking about all that stuff. So just being able to relate to people. And then when you have that relationship, and it could be established and within, 2 to 3 minutes, they'll give you your information freely, and they're like, yeah, come on over, let's talk, let's chat. And that's how you get, and that's how I can convert the people that are coming in to give me their information, talk to me, have conversations with me, and eventually close, right? Like, I know Tony and I are working on another lead that we got, where, I mean, we're now what, into 2.5 months, Tony, of following up with sheets?
Oh, yeah.
2.5 months of following up on one lead. And you know, he's not the only lead, but 2.5 months of following up on leads. So it's just, you got to do the work, right? Open houses don't work unless you do. You got to do the work. And, you know, so go out and get the open houses, but that's the easy part, right? Getting the open house is the easy part. Everything that comes after, that's where the work comes in. That's the work that you have to do. So, you know, the before, it's the marketing, right? Getting it out on all the Facebook pages, getting the signs out there, doing all that stuff. That's the marketing, right? And doing the open house, that's your skill. That's the, you know, the questions you're asking, the relationships that you're building, the trust that you're building. Real estate is a relationship business. Build that trust. And guys, I started my business. I literally started my career in real estate with $3,000. That's it. And that paid for everything. And my husband was very persistent. You don't get more until you get more, right? Lead with revenue. I got 50 open house signs. I've got 3 for sales signs. I got 3 lock boxes, and that was it. And he's like, and my husband told me, you know, he's like, when you get more listings, you can go get more signs. You can get more lock boxes. Until then, this is what you have. So it can be done without having to pay for leads, without having to do all these crazy stuff and spending money. You know, it can be done easily, but you have to do the work, right? Real estate is simple, not easy. So during the open house, you got to build that relationship and get those people information, right? Just one. You only need to focus on one. Everything else is cherry on the top. And
Of that,
go ahead.
Mary, with the signs, you guys have all those custom signs, but you can also borrow signs from people. A lot of people will let you borrow signs. A lot of people are getting out of the business right now. And you can go in real estate groups and say, does anybody have open house signs to sell? And also go on Amazon, and for $69, you can get like 10 or 20 signs, but work your way up to the custom if you can. You have
my
anything
signs
to
are
add?
$8 a sign.
Are they
My
really?
signs, those signs were $8 a sign. Both
Who do you go through?
double-sided. The what?
Who do you go through, and how many do you buy at once?
The last one I bought, I only, well, so I just ordered 40 for my husband, but the corrugated ones, the one that with the stakes, I only ordered 10 of those, and they were $8 a sign. So I'm sure if had I ordered more, he would have, I would have gotten it for cheaper, but it's $8.
Are you going
I
through
mean-
Build a Sign, or are you going through somebody local?
I'm going through someone local, but I mean, I'm sure he ships.
2 days straight in a row. 2 days
We
straight
would
in a row.
love that
Right,
information.
2 days back into it.
Oh, hold on, somebody's,
What? It's your fault.
is it Tony?
No, Ryan. Ryan, are you asking a
Yeah.
question?
Hold on.
Okay. So yeah, my signs were $8. I think my first batch of signs cost me $350. Right? Stick an open house on it, stick your name on it, stick your phone number on it, and stick your brokerage on it. That's as easy as it is. Believe me, I didn't get my logo until, shoot, when did I get my logo? 2017. I started in 2014. So my first open house signs were very simple. Very, very, very simple.
I was gonna say, Chris.
Ryan,
Oh, so Chris, yes, last time said like, hey, check out Vistaprint. I actually checked out Vistaprint, and the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. I saw 50 signs with stakes for $600, or 100 signs with stakes for 900 something plus tax. I say about 1,000, but that's like full glossy, full everything, like the
Full
high
color.
end, everything. Yep. So
Yeah.
$1,000, like you have 100 with stakes.
Yeah, and build a sign, if you're with EXP, you can go to build a sign in workplace, and a lot of times they have 40% discounts and 25% discounts. So shop around, but find someone that you can continue to go back to so you can just order quickly. Go ahead, Mary.
Signs are cheap. And if you're anywhere in Ventura County, you can borrow my signs, because by you using my signs, you're just marketing me, and I'm totally okay with free marketing.
Good
So
point.
just so you know, I'm totally okay with free marketing. But yeah, do the work, right? It's not hard. Everybody makes it so hard, and harder than it really is, other than just going and doing the work. I have 2 mentees right now, and I'm literally telling them, just go do the work, right? But Mary, this, no, just go do the work. And every time they tell me, Mary, this, I'm like, did you do the open house? Did you do anything? What did you do? And they're like, well, okay, you didn't do the work, go do the work. And I know I'm mean, and I don't have a heart, and all this stuff, and my level of empathy is extremely low. And so whatever, but do the work, guys. It's simple, very, very simple. I mean, stop preparing to prepare. Just go out and do it. Call people, get on the phone, take the rejections. Take the rejections, because we are all about rejections. We get more no's than we get a yes. So after the open house, right? Lead generation makes you rich, will make you rich, right? And it does, and it has. Lead follow-up, ladies and gentlemen, will make you wealthy. Okay, my first 3 years in real estate business, I lost over $18 million in gross revenue, or in gross sales, because I didn't do the follow-up. And it was heartbreaking, and a very expensive lesson that I learned. Right? Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Like I said, this client that we have, we've been following up with him for 2.5 months. I mean, my husband has been following up on his people for well over a month and a half. You know, so you gotta follow up, because you don't know when it's going to happen. Put them in your CRM, right? I had the people that came in, the sellers on on Cottonwood. I mean, we sent them a MLS subscription right away, right? Oh, let us set you up. We got you. So that's another way to keep a top of mind for them, right? Because they're getting emails from you, and like, oh, well, they're working really hard. No, we're not. We're just sending you through MLS subscriptions. Make it easy on yourself, okay? But add them to the thing. Add them to your MLS subscription. HomeBot, if you don't have one, again, grab a lender that likes you and that wants to help you, and that has HomeBot that they can give you the subscription to. And always ask for appointments, right? How do you ask for appointments? Hey, I can have my lender give you a call. When is a great time for him to call you back? Over the open houses that we've had, I take a screenshot of, I take a picture of their information. I send it to Tony. Hey, go call this person on such and such day, right? They're looking for approval. And if I have any information, I'll, text them what their information is. But that's ask for the appointment, right? When can I call you back? When is a good time for us to chat? When is a good time for my lender to call you? When can I come over to your house to look at your house? Whatever the case may be, right? Ask for the appointments, because if you don't ask, you won't get.
Can I add something to that?
The what?
I'd like to add something to that. One thing that you could also do is, a lot of times, you probably experienced this, Mary, you get the lead and then you can never get anywhere with them because they never followed up with the lender. And so if you do it right then and there, a 3-way text, hey, let me connect you right now, and then you can set up an appointment with him. Then that way you can do it right there and you're not like following up. Did you guys ever connect? Because I think that's the problem, is a lot of people just walk away and they, never take action.
Possibly.
What are your thoughts?
Possibly.
So
there are very few times I've actually connected live in person, because, and I have, and the only reason I've connected live at the open house was because I didn't know how to speak Spanish.
Oh.
So I don't like to do that at the open house, simply because, there's going to be a lot of personal information being asked. And therefore, I kind of be like, hey, when can they call you? Right. And then that way they don't feel self-conscious about doing it right there and then. And I mean, yes, you are going to get some that isn't going to happen. That's okay. You know, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince. So you chop it up as, okay, I got to go find another frog. I know you're laughing at me, Tony. Stop it. So get them connected with the lender, and but after the open house, follow up. I mean, I have a guy that I haven't sent to Tony yet because he doesn't have a job yet, but I've been following up with him like crazy. So I know his whole backstory. But yeah, follow up, because you never know, and you want to be the first person they think of when they do get that job, or when they do get this, or whatever the case may be. And so you just got to keep following up with them. Do's and don'ts. Ooh. Do's and don'ts. Do call every listing in your area. Someone will say yes. Someone will say yes. Just call, just ask. I try to be my adorable little self and ask. Most people don't see me anyways, but I put on the sweetest voice I can have, and I call and ask and text, whatever, right? Be prepared for the open house. And you don't have to get complicated. You don't have to go get cookies. You don't have to go get water. You don't have to go get any of it. How do you be prepared? Get the flyers, do the door knocking, do the work, right? Market the open house. Market the open house, because you're marketing yourself and you're giving people an excuse to go talk to them, right? Hey, I'm inviting you to the open house. Everybody that goes door knocking, what do I say? What do I say? What do I take? Simple. Go to the open house in that neighborhood. Go take the flyer. Hey, I'm inviting you to the open house. Come on in. Right? Guys, it's there. It's right in front of you. Take advantage of it. And ask the questions. Ask the questions when you're in the open house. Ask the people that are coming in, right? And when you are doing someone else's open house, right? When you're doing another person's listing and doing an open house, please do them a favor. Do me a favor if you're doing my open houses, and send me a follow-up, so that I can let my sellers know what's going on. So I can let my sellers know, hey, we had this many people come in, this thing happened. I mean, you don't have to give them the leads. You don't have to tell them about the leads, but you can tell them, hey, we had 15 people come in, or we had 15 groups come in, and we had X, Y, and Z, right? Hey, you have a neighbor that may be calling you because they're wanting, they have a realtor that really liked the house, whatever the case may be, right? Please, please, please give us the feedbacks. And if I hadn't already hammered into you enough, follow up with your leads. Follow up with your leads, right? Do the work, folks. I mean, you have nothing better to do right now. I get it, right? I mean, me too. I have nothing better to do. So guess what? I'm going to follow up. Lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiations, role play, and scripts. Those are your 5 jobs. If it doesn't fall into those 5 jobs, leave it for another time, right? Because if you're not lead generation, you're not going to have a lead to follow up. And you're not going to have anything else to pay for it. Lead with revenue. Job of a realtor, right? Just follow up. The don'ts. Don't get discouraged, guys. I mean, there's been, trust me, there's been plenty of open houses where I was like, I had one person come in, or, there's been, I mean, my husband has sat at an open house and he's like, we're on the 2.5 hours now. No one has come in, right? And yet at the end, people were coming in, and, we ended up having to keep an open house open for, another 45 minutes to an hour, because people were in the open house. So don't get discouraged, keep yourself occupied, play music, listen to audiobooks. I don't know, but keep your motivation going, and don't get discouraged. Don't forget, real estate, you're going to get a whole lot of no's and a very few yeses. So get used to the rejection. I know, it hurts us. I get it. I don't like rejections either, but get used to it. because you're going to hear a lot of no's, especially now, right? And that's okay. No's are okay. If you haven't already read the book, Jim Camp, Start with No, go read it. Don't let there be any lonely signs. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how I can, in my past 9 years and over 200 some odd transactions, I can pinpoint for you how many transactions I've got just off of my signs. Just off of my signs, right? Nothing else, just off of my signs. And, neighbors come in and it's like, oh my God, I just had to come in and stop by, and I can name them. So make sure people see it. Make sure you're marketing yourself. It's free marketing for you guys. So don't let there be any lonely sites. Plus, people get lost. I mean, I get lost. I mean, I'm short. Again, 5'0". I can barely see over the dashboard, right? So there has to be enough signs out there that I can see, right? And that I can get to the open house, because you want people to come in, right? And you get people in there by marketing yourself and giving them the right directions. Don't leave the chaos. Don't leave the open house in a chaos. Okay, especially if it's not your own listing. So if listing agents have flyers out or whatever the case may be, I put them all away during the open house. But right after the open house, I put it right back the way I found it. Right? If they have certain things a certain way, I make sure I leave it the way it was. Right? If if they have their business cards out or whatever the case it may be, I always leave it the way it is. Right? And in fact, I always try to leave it better. So pick up your trash, pick up after yourself, take your flyers, especially if it's not your listing. Do not leave your business cards. Do not leave your flyers. Do not leave your stuff there, right? I, as a listing agent, I can tell you, when I've let other people hold open houses, there's nothing more annoying than other agents, leaving their stuff at the house. So pick up after yourself. Don't leave it in a chaos. And don't lose sight of your goals. Remember, your goal there is to get leads, and just get one lead, right? One lead that you can follow up on. Everything else is gravy. And if I haven't already mentioned it to you, don't forget to follow up, right? Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Ladies and gentlemen, real estate is not, I get it, it's tough now. Remember, tough times make strong people. You got to make yourself strong. You gotta keep going. It is the best way I can see it. And for me, this last 6 months has been very, very humbling, because I've kind of rested on my laurels, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting businesses, da 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 da, and yet I stopped doing what I was really good at. I stopped doing what worked for me. And what this last 6 months have taught me is that, you just got to go back to basics. You just got to go back to the beginning and do what you're really good at. So it's been a very, very humbling experience. And, it also allowed me to hone in some of my other skills. And above it all, I wouldn't have gotten back out there, had my husband not been so persistent and be like, go do the open house, I'll go do it with you. And what's also really interesting was that because somebody was there, and my last several open houses, my mentees have been shadowing me, because somebody was there watching me and watching my every step, I had to be more on my game, right? It kind of forced me to be more on my game, to be more on purpose with the things I was saying, the things I was doing, and all that stuff. So in that aspect, it made me be better, and it made me, sharpen my skills a lot more. Facebook themselves only allows you to do 17 shares. I just post it, and if they deny it, okay. And I just go on to it's kind of like calling for listing agents, right? And calling for open houses. Some are going to reject it. Some groups are going to reject it. You know, what I'm also finding out is that a lot of these groups are ran by realtors. Shocking. And so I just, you know, if I get rejected, okay, fine, I'm going to go on to the next one, right? It's literally just getting my names out there, and a lot of the times I get, you know, I get really weird comments on those posts too, and that's okay. It's just keep moving on, and you know, and okay, so if one group rejected me or kicks me out, I go join another one. Just says, join us, open house. Like, I think 2 weeks ago, we had an interstate open house. So we had an open house in Arizona and an open house in California all at the same time. So I said, hey, wherever you are, we're there. And of course, you know, obviously those open houses got posted to different groups in different areas. But it's just on my open houses, I would sometimes do a link to list reports. I would sometimes do a list to my MLS. I haven't done any sort of a setup to where I can send it to my CRM to capture their information. So no, I don't do that. But most of my links are, or I would just post pictures of the list reports. And it, you know, the only thing that the Facebook has that I use Facebook for, it's literally to get my name out there. Right. And they keep seeing my name over and over and over and over and over again. They're like, oh, she's a realtor. Oh, she's a realtor. Oh, she's a realtor. Everyone that's on my CRM is on it's on the HomeBot and gets, what I am using on HomeBot is who to contact, right? Is who to contact, because every month they send you an email that says, let's see, do I have it? I just saw it too. That says the most active people on HomeBot. And I use that and I follow up on them. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you know, tells you most active people. Oops, you can't. The most active people on HomeBot, and I use that. So they're like, oh, in the past 7 days, HomeBot drove 11 clients, and so what I do is I start calling those people.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I haven't talked to you in so long. What's going on? What's happening? I should start using some of my posts to lead generate, but I know I'm technically a millennial. I know I'm technically a millennial, but according to my daughters, I'm a boomer. So when it comes to technology, they call me a boomer. So I'm slowly getting there. I'm slowly getting there. Anywho, yes, my daughters are 12 and 13 and going on 30. So list report are essentially flyers. They have listing presentations you can do. They have social, shoot, hold on. Let me try to see if I can pull up a list report for you. So it's got property websites. It's got open house flyers, promotional flyers, infographics. You can even do open house sign-in sheets from there. You could do property reports. You can do, you know, all of this stuff. And the thing is, you can also do a pre-listing presentation. So if you want to drop off something, you know, that's there for you. Neighborhood reports. So pretty much, I mean, it's marketing done for you. I was in California about 2 weeks ago. I finally get in contact with a client in Payson, and they're like, "Oh, we're off today. We want to go see homes." I'm in California, ladies and gentlemen, 8 hours away, and I'm like, 1 minute. So I got on the phone with my husband. I'm like, "Hey, can you go show homes?" He's like, "Okay, where?" I'm like, "Payson." And you know, this is, I think the appointment was like 5:30. I'm calling him at 3 o'clock. It takes 2 hours to go to Payson, by the way. And he's like, I guess I'll be going to Payson today. So I'm fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate that, you know, I can pick up the phone and call and be like, hey, can you go? And when I'm in Arizona and I have showings in California, you know, I do have people in California that can show properties that I'll pick up the phone and be like, hey, can you show? And or if I just can't get to it, you know, I'll go on to Workplace. I'm like, hey, I'm willing to compensate somebody that's willing to show for me, and things like that. I mean, I had a closing here in Simi Valley where the first time I met the client was at an inspection, right?
Wow.
This came from believe it or not, this came from an Instagram lead. This lead came from Instagram. She emailed me, and you know, I'm very cautious in responding to people like, oh, I'm looking to buy a house. Can you help me? Right? Because majority of them scams, and that like 99.9% are scams.
Mhm.
So I get an email on an account that, you know, I don't, you know, it isn't really out there. And I'm like, okay. And I looked up the telephone number and it was the same person that was sending me the email. So I sent it back. And she's like, and so, you know, I get on a Zoom meeting with her. She's like, well, there's a house I really want to go see. This is Wednesday. There's a house I really want to go see in Simi Valley. And I'm like, oh, I'm in Arizona, right? But I was able to get in touch with somebody. And I said, hey, can you go show, you know, a couple of houses for me? She's like, no problem. She goes shows houses on Thursday. And I wrote an offer Thursday night. And by Friday morning, I was in escrow with that person that I've never met. So the very first time I actually met the clients was at the home inspection. So it can be done. Again, you know, you gotta leverage and ask, and again, put on your sweetest, you know, voice that you can and ask for help. But it can be done. I go after vacant listings because they're just easier, and I'm not, you know, I try not to be an inconvenience. You know, others will have different opinions, but I try not to be an annoyance to a lot if I could, right? So I try to go after vacant properties. I try to go, you know, if I could, I try to go after listings that have been on the market for a little bit, because those are the ones that are not getting the attention that maybe I can possibly help bring more attention to, right? And those are also the ones where the listing agents are more willing to give up the open house than, you know, a brand new listing. I mean, I'm sorry, but if I have a brand new listing, you're not going to be getting that open house, because I myself is going to do it, especially during this time. So if the listing has been on the market for a month and a half, whatever the case may be, who cares if it's overpriced? Again, you're not there to sell the house, right? But if by you doing the open house and by you bringing attention to that listing, you know, if that could benefit the seller, great, and most definitely will benefit you, right?
Yeah, and I also like your keep it simple is that you don't worry about food. Like your time spent putting open house signs out and putting them in groups and not like trying to shop for food and spending money on food, because a lot of people think that they have to do that.
Why? People don't go into open houses for food. And plus it's a mess. I mean, I have to clean up after it. I'm trying to make my job as simple as I can. I don't need to be cleaning up after people's messes. Believe me, I have, and not fun, and I don't want to do it. I think the most I've ever offered was water, and that was because the seller put it out on the counter for me. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we could use that. But aside from that, I don't.
I think in our state, we can't serve food, only water.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
right.
even serve water.
No food
You
at
know what I
all, no
have done?
cookies, not even chips.
You know what I have done? There are times I have partnered with Girl Scouts and have them put out their signs and have them put out their stand right outside the open house, right? And then they're holding up my signs and dancing in front of the open house. And it's a, you know, so I'm helping them out and they're helping me out, you know, because they're also saying, hey, there's Girl Scout cookies. And I mean, who can ignore Girl Scout cookies, right?
Yes.
So that is the other thing I have done, but is just letting them, you know, put a stand outside my open house, or, you know, and they do well, and, you know, and they're advertising me, and I take a picture of them. And it's like, oh, there's Girl Scout cookies here too.
Love
So
it.
that is what I have done, but get creative. I mean, after so many open houses, you just have to get creative in how you get attention and how you market and how you do all this stuff, right? And, you know, but I don't, no on food. No, not Not even on
So-
broker open. I try not to do food.
Yeah. So it's speaking of creative, we do have a creative open house class with Laura Malik, and that is going to be on April 9th. So Mary, thank you so much. If you guys want to go back and watch this recording, I should have the recording up tomorrow on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, reach out to Mary. But if you know of anyone that's buying in Arizona or California, reach out to Mary so she can help them. And then obviously Tony has all those different states as well. So, all right, Tony, you have list reports in all those states, but are you just licensed in California and Arizona?
Texas and Oregon as well.
Okay. I do have a question actually about Tony, how you're using him. So when you have the open house, Mary, do you go in with scenarios on different payment plans and those kinds of things?
No, it's not
mortgage
my
payment?
job. It's his job.
Okay, but does he provide that or do you just link them up?
I just link them up. What I do have is a title app that will give me payments. But again, I don't know interest rates and stuff like that. So I said, that's an excellent question. Why don't I get my loan officer to call you and he can give you more exact numbers?
Okay, love it.
Again, I as much as Tony likes to tell me that I don't stay in my lane, I do try to stay in my lane. Mostly. So when it comes to payments and stuff like that, yeah, if I have the information, I'll give it to them. But otherwise, I'm like, hey, Tony can call you and he can give you more information because he's the numbers guy. And now I'm asking for an appointment.
It's actually
Love
also a
it.
good time to talk to your potential buyer and be like, oh, are you that serious? Let me explain a little bit about how the whole process works and how the loan officer comes in there. You build rapport, you share your knowledge, and you're doing the right thing.
And by the way, I don't show any houses without pre-approvals. Plain and simple. I don't show any houses without pre-approval. So, when they come to me, I'm like, let's get you pre-approved first because you're going to want to know how much you're pre-approved for. You're going to want to know what your payments are. You're going to want to know what your thing is. And when you have all that information, home shopping is going to be that much easier. And so I say, yeah, I'll get Tony to call you. And yes, I do make Tony work on weekends. So he calls. That's how I use
Is it
it.
okay? Is it okay to say my lender like that? Or do you have to provide 3 lenders? Or can you just say my lender?
That's a myth.
Mm.
That's a myth. I mean, do you want your partners or do you want your clients to say, let me give you 3 realtors?
I
Let me
just
give you
hear
3
that. I
realtors.
hear that a lot. Like he's supposed to offer at least 3. I don't know if it's just contractors or is it lenders as well?
Even whatever. It's all a myth. It's all a
Yeah,
myth.
this is a relationship business as well. So,
Mm.
you have to think about how you want to do that. And I never offered 3 lenders. I offered my favorite lender. So
Yeah.
you're going to offer the person that you want to continue to go to. And going back to your question with HomeBot, lenders have a lot of people on HomeBot right now, but they've never given them a lead. So if you want your lender to pay for something, then you have to help do something for them and send them leads and reciprocate. You can't just ask them to help you with that, Tony.
DD HomeBot base price for a lender is almost $500 a month. Every agent you add is another $25.
Oh,
So
wow, that's a lot.
And
Yeah.
list report is like somewhere around 700, right?
list reports cost about $1,100 to $1,200 a year to maintain it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but if I may, DD, I've heard this for 22 years, and it's one of those mythological things that won't die. Do you mind sharing, where do you hear that you need to provide 3 lenders to a prospective lead? I'm just curious.
Different networking groups and things like that. They say that you should at least provide 3. And I don't know many lenders. I don't know 3 contractors either. I have my favorites that I use.
Especially now, right?
Especially now, and that you can trust. And and recommend. You can't just recommend anybody. When you recommend somebody, it has to be somebody you really trust and used in the past or had somebody close to you use. I can't just come up with top 3. If they don't like the lender I have, I guess they can select someone else if it's not a good fit. But I only have one of each. I have one lender, one electrical contractor, one plumber. But I go to networking events, even like little masterminds, and they said you're supposed to at least provide 3.
If Tony ever
Understood.
told anybody that, let me give you 3 realtors,
I would be missing my kneecaps is what she's trying to say.
An attorney actually did that with me. He provided 3 realtors.
Nice.
Yeah,
One
I
attorney.
I think it's because, just to wrap it up, I think it's maybe has to do with trying to prevent the appearance of partiality, maybe trying to skirt any splatter of liability. Like if you have a bad experience with that particular service provider, I recommend it. I don't want that to spill over to me. But as Tanya mentioned, if it's a relationship business and it's symbiotic, and so we have to learn to take care of each other. And early on, Mary and I always worked with the notion that anything I do, anything I say, any performance I make, it's going to reflect on her. So I think, maybe just something to consider is that working with a lender that can embrace that and has that experience, it's very important. As Mary, for example, Mary will probably affirm that we're probably on escrow number, I don't know, 204 or 3 or whatever it is. I don't think there's been one time she's never heard a buyer come back and say, oh, hey, the lender said I was going to get this rate or this cost, and it ended up being more. So that's never happened. And, we can't allow that to happen. I mean, there's been times where it cost me personally, but we have to do that because who's the primary client? It's Mary. So not every loan officer is going to be willing to offer that level of loyalty if it's not reciprocal. I mean, I hate saying it that way, but it's true. It's a relationship. So just, and I guess in short, learning to take care of each other. So finding someone that's willing to embrace that, I think, is maybe the way you might develop trust and confidence that, hey, I'm putting them in the hands of somebody that is competent, will tell them the truth, will tell me the truth, that will focus on the larger task, larger goal, the greater goal, which is let's both succeed. Let's take excellent care of the client. Let's generate referrals and get a check.
Love
Simple
it.
as that.
I love it. Thank you, Tony. Mary, this was wonderful. Follow Mary's steps and do what she said. Just do it. Just get to work.